I'm Jeremy Hamilton. I'm what they call a field CTO at BMC. And what that means is I cover all of BMC, the distributed solutions, the orchestration solutions, and of course the mainframe. My background is 20 years on the mainframe, and everything from app dev solutions to the system side, cost and performance, storage, automation, etc. And now with my new role, I really try to show customers how the mainframe can fit into enterprise-wide initiatives.
Yeah, my name's Anthony Anter, to go by Tony, if anyone runs into me. I am probably newer to the mainframe. I've probably only been on the mainframe about 4 or 5 years. I come from the distributed side. My role is I'm a DevOps architect and evangelist. So I go around to companies and talk with them about what they're doing today from a mainframe DevOps point of view and what the art of the possible is. What can they do with the systems they have, and how can BMC partner with them to make their lives better, to make their developers' lives better.
It was funny. I started as a physicist, believe it or not, at IBM. And once I got my grad school degree, they gave me an option to say, hey, you know what? We got this thing called the mainframe. You want to try it out? And all my friends, in grad school, they're like, why would you want to go to that platform? It's so legacy, and no one's on the mainframe anymore. Everyone's going distributed in cloud. And I'm like, I've always been one to buck the trend, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I really fell in love with it, with the platform.
And for me, I probably backed into the mainframe more than anything else. So I was full distributed. I had never worked on a mainframe. I thought maybe took a COBOL class in college. That was as close to a mainframe as I ever got. And when I was at my previous job, they wanted to bring DevOps onto the mainframe. They were having a problem with two-speed IT between the distributed side and the mainframe side. And so they said, hey, why don't you bring DevOps to the mainframe? And I'm like, I have no idea what a mainframe, how it works. I knew what it was, but how it works, what I should do, any of it. And I had every prejudice there ever was about how a mainframe was, what the platform was, what the people on the platform were. And when I got into it, I was frankly shocked at the sophistication and the advancement of the platform. It is probably one of the most, it is the most advanced platform there is. What I discovered was mainframe app dev was behind. The platform in and of itself is amazing, and it has every capability you would ever want from a platform. We needed to get app dev from where it was at to where it needs to be today. And that's really how I got into the mainframe, transforming my previous company, and then from there coming to BMC and bringing that same, joie de vivre to all the other customers that I work with.
I don't know about you, but like the biggest hurdle to overcome was just the vernacular.
Yeah.
What's an LPAR? What is a start a task? How does that look in the distributed world versus the mainframe? And once you overcome that, then it just kind of it looks. It's still a computer.
Right.
Yeah.
The vernacular is just a nomenclature. When you boil it all down, it's the same things, the same capabilities that you're trying to do on a distributed side. Right. It's just different. We always say it's just another platform. And if you think about it in that way, then it's just a matter of mapping in your head what is an LPAR to a VM, what is a container to a package. You know what I'm saying? It's all the same stuff. So
Exactly.
Definitely. So I think starting out, the way that mainframe went from what I would say purely waterfall methodology, purely a waterfall approach to how you move changes onto the platform, to now, if a company isn't already putting automation in place and putting DevOps in place, they're partway through it or they're planning it or whatever. I think sort of coming up to speed with those advancements are some of the cooler technical capabilities that I've seen. I think gone are the days where, the mainframe's just different. The mainframe, oh, you don't understand, it's just the mainframe. That's not how this works. To now accepting the fact that there are no technical limitations to what you can do on the platform. So let's automate it. I think that, and I think the way you're seeing the mainframe side jump into AI and jump into machine learning is pretty cool. I think that the platform is actually trying to leap a couple of steps ahead of everyone else in the way they're embracing and talking about AI.
Right. And they can, because you can take advantage of the platform being fairly closed system. The different pieces fit together in a certain way that you can take advantage of the ML and AI and data analytics. And for me, like when I think about how the technological advances, 5-6 years ago, everyone was talking about getting off the mainframe. How can I save money from the mainframe? And more so now than I've ever seen, people are saying, okay, we got the mainframe in place. How do we include the mainframe in enterprise-wide initiatives? How do we bring this platform that has been kind of isolated for quite a few years into the overall picture? And so that's when I'm seeing AIOps leaking into the mainframe and going end to end. When a problem occurs, where is it occurring? And I love the adage, and I use it a lot with my customers, as if the mainframe sneezes, the rest of the organization gets sick, because the business critical applications are really still housed on the mainframe, and the platform continues to grow. And we're looking at technologies that are really advancing how we can maintain that platform and move forward.
Yeah, that's where organizations make their money. Like, boil it all down. The web, mobile, those are facades on top of the core that is the mainframe. And that is where companies make their money. And to Jeremy's point, like what I'm seeing, you're seeing a lot of companies now embrace the idea of a hybrid system. I have cloud and I have cloud capabilities, and I'm moving some of those pieces off the mainframe into the cloud. But for my systems of record for data, my core processing, my batch, you can't beat the mainframe. Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't beat the mainframe. They're still a heavyweight champ. So you're seeing a lot of companies embrace a cloud front end with an API layer, which is one of the cooler advancements I've seen. The way the mainframe has embraced APIs and exposing everything via APIs with a mainframe backend for core and data processing. That's, that to me, that's where I see the future, at least.
And what excites me the most, because you get those different layers in, and all of a sudden you're adding in additional complexity.
Right.
And the additional complexity, that creates opportunities for companies like ours to come in and help solve real business problems that help our customers leap forward.
And open the aperture for the amount of people that are contributing to the platform, that are contributing solutions, and are able to make the mainframe a platform of choice for what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll stick on the AIOps topic. And one thing that is really difficult is understanding when a problem occurs. Where is it occurring? And it used to be that you would get a war room call together. I mean, if it's a severe problem, you have a big outage, and you got someone on the call from the distributed and cloud world, you got database people, you have network folks, you got CICS programmers, everybody on this call, and it becomes the call of innocence. And they're trying to prove that their piece of the puzzle isn't the offending part, so they can get off of the platform.
Wasn't me.
Or off the call.
Me. Yeah, wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's saying that. So, one of the ways that BMC has helped is being able to identify where the problem is occurring, and hopefully before anyone is even impacted. Is it a distributed problem or a mainframe problem? Is it a network problem? And can I get ahead of that problem and advance? And no matter where it's at in the environment, by just looking at the tapestry and how things interact. So one of my customers, they actually were able to, they came to us and said, we're having a problem in our environment. And they had environments that, 3 or 4 frames here in the States, one in Europe, I think one in Australia as well. And so we had this big, huge, hey, go find my problem. And so we were able to diagnose the problem, find it, diagnose it, and then help the customer get over the hump and get back to normal processing. So, I mean, that's I know a very vague and broad example, but when you think about it, if you think of just a single mainframe, when something goes wrong, that's hard to find. But when you're thinking about modern infrastructures that span across multiple different platforms, multiple different mainframe systems, it becomes even harder.
So The one I would point to is that just recently I did an interview and a discussion with a very large insurance company, very, very large insurance company, that previous to us getting involved with them, all of their deployments were manual. All of their deployments were manual, and it was a ticket-based system where if I wanted to deploy my changes, I had to put in a ticket, and there was a lead time, and then somebody had to take that ticket and then review it and pass that ticket around to multiple people, get approvals, et cetera, just for a person to like, I'm gonna move the box from here to here, right? Using some of the capabilities that we enabled for them, and then working with they just have some fantastic engineers and designers. They went from 0% automated deployments to 100% automated deployments. Yeah, let's raise it up there. And it's a really amazing win story, because they went from again, a waterfall archaic system to now an automated pipeline that automatically pushes their changes down the path and deploys it into production. And this isn't just chuck and duck. With change management, with scanning, with testing, everything's approved, everything is auditable and ready, and it's good. And I mean, they were happy, we were happy, and those are the kind of stories we look for, because my mantra going into all this is I want to be your partner. I don't want to be your vendor. I don't want to just sell you a bunch of tools. People can give me as many tools as they want. That doesn't make me a plumber, right? I want to partner with you to create solutions to help create stories just like what I said, right? And make it better. And now they're looking, okay, we've got automated deployments in this automated system. How can we improve it? How can we make it better? How can we make it better for our engineers, right? Because, if you read the Phoenix Project or the Unicorn Project, or any of those, it's about making working a delight. And these kind of stories make working a delight. And that's Gene Kim, not me. Just so I know, I don't want to get you guys into any technical issues with using nomenclature. So.
Yeah, and if you can't tell, Tony comes from a DevOps perspective, dev and development. I come from a systems perspective. And there's nothing that makes a systems guy cringe more than a lot of change.
Right.
And so that's where I think that the BMC really shines, is because we do have expertise on both sides. We do have tooling on both sides that can help make the day better for an overall organization. And Tony and I are always on the phone discussing, hey, how did this work over here on the app dev side? How does it work on the system side? And how can we come together to make it work for an overall perspective?
Right, and that's what DevOps is really supposed to be. It's about that handoff from app development to operations, right? And a lot of times I think app development takes most of the sunshine, and it's, hey, here you go, operations. And I think really bringing that other half, that SRE side that Jeremy talks about, into the fold, that's what makes a truly awesome organization. That's what makes your capabilities shine, is looking at both sides of that coin.
Well, in some ways, I look at it that the system will almost be autonomous, be able to run on its own, stay up and running, and when a problem occurs, then it can automatically go and fix the problem before anyone even knows that it's there. Now, that doesn't mean that you're replacing humans. Humans are still a vital key part of the overall, operation and development of the mainframe. But we're just taking some of those more redundant, smaller tasks off their books so they can do what humans are best at, and that's innovate and drive the platform forward. So 5 to 10 years now, I see a platform that is still robust, still growing, still housing the primary applications, but now running more of an autonomous perspective, and the humans are surrounding it, helping to innovate and drive it forward.
To tack on to what Jeremy said, I think that whole feedback loop is where you're going to see things go. And I think even on the distributed side, they're talking about this, but not really pushing it as hard. You're going to start seeing more autonomous systems, to his point, that tie the operations data back into triggering pipelines to be able to push changes and fix things. Now, I know that worries a lot of people. I don't want my system just throwing something out there and then I'm even worse than I was. That's where the AI and some of the ML and some of those things, as it matures, we're not there today, but as it matures, that will be a big pattern that you're going to start seeing on the mainframe side, as well, I think, in IT in general, right? That whole feedback loop of creating solutions and automating outages and bringing things back up and taking them down, letting the system do more of the grunt work. So to Jeremy's point, now my operations engineers, my developers, they're innovating, they're handling the big tasks. They're not worried about having to toggle things on and off just to do that. The other thing I'm going to say, 5 to 10 years, the mainframe's still going to be here. I want to go out on record and say that I know everyone talked about the death of the mainframe, and now I think everyone understands that's not there. But I think you're going to see a very alive and very vibrant mainframe and mainframe capability for at least the next 10 years, if not the foreseeable future.
Yeah, when I came out of grad school, it was funny. You know, I had my grad school friends saying, "Why are you going to that platform? It's going to be gone in 5 to 10 years."
Yeah.
And then when they were recruiting me to the platform, they're saying, you know, in 5 to 10 years, you're going to be super valuable because all these guys are going to retire.
Right, that's right.
Well, 5 to 10 years went by and not a lot had happened. And so that now we're 15, 20 years down the road. And I see that you know, there are folks that are retiring, and the people who have extensive knowledge of the platform are getting smaller. And so technologies like AI and those pieces, GPT technologies, are coming in to help not necessarily lower the bar, because there's not a bar to be lowered, but it's making it easier for someone to read something and be able to consume it from a human factor and understand what's going on and go and do the work they need to do.
It's assisting people. Correct. In doing the heavy lifting, which is exactly what is needed, right? You have a platform that not a lot of new people have come onto in the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever. Now they're coming on and they're having to take over, you know, monolithic code bases that haven't been refactored or modified in decades. Technology that they're not completely familiar with. And these tools are aids. Like, that's one of the things I like to talk about is, don't be scared of these changes that are coming in. Use them as aids. How many of you would own a warehouse and not have a forklift? You know, back in the old days, you used to have to move things by hand. Right. Would you rather drive a forklift, or would you rather pick up, you know, a 5,000-pound box? I mean, at the end of the day, these are tools to help you, to aid you in your job, not to replace you in what you do.
What advice would I give would be, you know, hey, you know, get started. You know, start somewhere. Start small. You know, you're not going to walk in day one and know everything, and that's okay. Yeah, I didn't walk in day one and know everything. And I didn't, you know, year 1, year 2, year 5. You know, make sure that you know you're on a long learning path. But at the same time, it can be a very enriching one as you go along. And there's a lot to know on the mainframe. There's not a single person out there that knows every bit about the mainframe. And so pick up on what you can and then build upon that. That's the way that I was taught and brought through on the mainframe, and I'm sure that will resonate with folks out there.
I would say, so what I would say that someone who's new to the platform should bring is bring innovation, bring a fresh perspective, and don't be scared to push that. When I came from the distributed side onto the mainframe side, and I heard a lot of this is just different. Well, why? Why is it different? Explain it to me. Give me a bits, bytes reason why this won't work or this is different, right? The other thing I would say is go where the jobs are. And if I can talk to all my young Hulkamaniacs out there right now, right? This is where the jobs are going to be. The biggest companies in the world, core systems run on a mainframe. They are looking for people who will work on these. This is where the money is at. You bring the cool with you. The job doesn't define how cool you are. You bring the cool, right? So go into this. The last thing I'm going to say, advice, and I have a soft spot in my heart for interns and people that are young on the platform or young on any platform. Don't ignore the soft skills. Don't ignore communications. Don't ignore building a brand. Don't ignore your executive presence, things like that. That's the difference between the person who stays here and the person who does this.
How would I explain the mainframe to someone that's in kindergarten? Assuming they go into a retail store with me, it's kindergartners and they want to buy a toy. And so that, I would, we'd walk through, I would take them through the whole process of picking it off the shelf, buying it, and going out to the vehicle. And then I would say, hey, do you know how you got this toy? And, they would say, oh, well, we just bought it from the store. Okay, let's break that down. Think about how that toy got to the store. Think about how that when we walked up to purchase the toy, how that, I didn't use cash, so then I used a card. And think of all the number of people who buy toys, on a daily basis, and the number of toys they have to have in the store, the number of transactions that occur, at the point of sale. And then, as we go home, we put it in our house, and we have a lot of toys in the house. So, think of all those different toys and transactions that occur in order for you to have what you have. That's what a mainframe does. It's able to keep track of all those different pieces and make sure that everyone gets paid for the money they need and that you get your toy.
So I would give a different analogy. I love that. I actually think I might even steal part of that because that's a fantastic, but I like to talk in analogies, parables, if you will. And I would equate a mainframe, if I'm explaining it to somebody who doesn't understand, I would say, think about a weightlifter, right? You go into the gym and you see a guy and he's decently strong. He throws a couple of plates on the bar and he pops out a few reps, and that's good, right? And he keeps that going. Now, think about the world's strongest man who's picking up deadlifting 1,000 pounds. The first guy is a regular computer, a distributed system. You got a lot of those going on. The power lifter, that's the mainframe. That's the guy you want picking up all the weight, handling all the transactions. When you want everything done in a few hours, you go to the mainframe. And that's how I would explain to the mainframe to somebody at a dinner party or to a kindergartner, assuming they know what a power lifter is. Right. That's how I would explain that. So.
Well, they call it the big iron for a reason.
Exactly, right? That's exactly right.
Yeah, in case y'all didn't know, I have a persona on LinkedIn called the Big Iron Guy, and that make fun little videos and stuff. And then, hey, I may have to go to the gym sometime. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a power lifter, though.
Yeah, you do what you can do, Jeremy. You do what you can do. So.
Well, the only thing I would add, and it was something that we were talking about before we went live, is, the BMC, one of the things I think is most valuable about the company is that we are the true mainframe DevOps story. When we purchased Compuware, we brought in experts like Tony into the fold, into our BMC family. They joined a family of systems people, the people who are looking after the DB2s and the CICSs and the capacity planning and the storage. And together, we are a force of one. We really bounce ideas of each other. We're looking at integrations between the solutions. Yeah. And to your point earlier, being able to make the mainframer's life a better place is really what we're here to do.
And to tack on to what Jeremy said, one of the things that needs to be talked about is BMC and Compuware, or when they purchased Compuware, they started with themselves. They led an internal mainframe transformation and went off of being a waterfall delivery tool to going full agile, using their tools, using all of the DevX capabilities that we have today. That's what they do internally. So this is not just a story we go out and try to quote unquote sell to a customer. This is a story that we've lived. From myself, from external, but internal to BMC as well, right? So I think that's something that we do. And the other thing is, if you're going to work with somebody, work with a partner, right? Work with someone who is there to help you get better. Right? And that's what I think BMC brings to the table. We don't look at our customers as quote unquote customers. We look at our customers as our partners, and we're there to help you. And I know it sounds a bit like a greeting card, but that's the reality of it. And when I go in and talk to my contacts and I go in and talk to organizations or companies, that's the mantra I go in there is, look, let me help you. I'll tell you if what I'm doing will help you or it won't. And if it won't, then we'll come back later with something that will, right? I'd rather do that than the reverse.